Please join me in praying that I don't say something we all regret. These are dangerous times. Mr. President, are you sure about this? It's not a coincidence that in the scriptures poverty is mentioned more than 2,100 times.
Look in my eyes, what do you see?
These issues are as alive as they ever were.
Neon lights, Nobel Prize, when a mirror speaks, the reflection lies.
This is not about charity, it's about justice.
I know your anger, I know your dreams.
But justice and equality are mates, aren't they? Justice always wants to hang out with equality, and equality is a real pain in the ass.
I'm the smiling face on your TV.
I changed the channel.
Oh, there's a law of compensation, and there's an accounting to be held, an accounting that shall make the Depression of 1929 seem as a prosperity when it breaks upon.
Only you can set you free. The cult of personality.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
You gave me fortune. You gave me fame. You gave me power in your God's name.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Indigenous Nightmare Podcast. I'm going to do a little bit of house cleaning before we get into the main subject. I want to say thank you to everybody who has either been a part of this podcast that I still fuck with, I still associate with, people who have watched it, individuals that have just found it. I'm at 632 subscribers, and I completely, just in all honesty, want to say thank you, because I didn't expect none of this to happen. When I conduct these interviews, when I try and have thoughtful conversations for people to watch, to listen to, I don't have in the back of my mind, oh, I wonder how many views it gets. It's just I put it out there, and if you guys like it, you guys like it. You want the person to return, I try my best to try and get them to return. So I just want to say thank you to the likes of Diallo Kenyatta. Obviously, right off tops, Dr. Horn, individuals like Dr. Katrina Hazard, the Pen and the Paper, Allison McDonald, and these are all people who have been on the podcast. Paulina Kirikos, I want to say thank you, because without your guys' energy and input into this wouldn't be shit. And so I try and respect everything that comes my way and comes towards this podcast way that is positive. So again, thank you. To kind of get into what we're going to be getting into is a subject that is very personal to me, mainly because I was affected just as much as the guests that I have on by slumlords, by property managements that don't take accountability and love to shackle 100% of the blame towards the individuals who rent these places that they don't do upkeep on. So today's conversation is going to be centered around slumlords, property managements, and just the lifestyle that that we have to live under when we reside in these areas, whether it be an apartment complex, whether it be a condominium, whether that even just be a house, because houses are not exempt from this. Property managements as a whole are a byproduct of what I like, what a lot of my comrades like to call white hegemony. It is a byproduct of the amount of capitalism that is infested in there, is that they care more about property, more about profit than they do about their own properties. And they work along with the city. Like the city, I can bring in, for example, the city of Colton works with property managements to make sure that these complaints don't make the news. They don't make it to City Hall, and code enforcement officers working hand in hand, taking bribes, and in favor, in favor of the city, to make sure that, it makes it seem like everything's nice, everything is good, everything is, prosperous, and really it isn't. You have individuals that are being subjugated to living with rodents, living with bugs, living in infestations, if we're being completely honest. So today is going to be centered around GREYSTAR property management, the likes of GREYSTAR and similar. And today I have Anthony, and I hope I'm going to get your last name right. DePice, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Anthony DePice is a comrade of mine that I found via Instagram during the unionization of Starbucks, and that's going to be a conversation that we get into too, and kind of how do we support unions, but at the same time, how do we boycott Starbucks at the same time for having its hands in blood, basically, of Gazan children, in Palestine. So it's good to have you on. I wish it was for better circumstances, but we're getting into something that I think is very serious, that individuals need to know about, because this is very prevalent, especially in Southern California. It is a huge problem in Southern California for property managements that, like we were talking beforehand, there's 50 GREYSTAR property managements. There's 50, I can list right now, there's probably like 2 or 3 Avenue 5 residentials, but they're all in some manner connected. And these people who actually own these properties, that own the parcels of land, you're never going to be able to find what their real names are. It took me months to find out that the property management that I was living under, Avenue 5, in 2018 through 2021, that they weren't the rightful owners. Like, the parcels of land were actually owned by a house that was in the back of the apartment complex. So the house that sits on the same parcel of land that they're called the Highlands apartment homes. So you can look them up. There in Grand Terrace, California. They these people lived on the parcels of land, and subjugated people to these apartment complexes that had faulty wiring, had rodents. With the Highlands, it mainly for me wasn't a rodent problem. They did real good upkeep, I can say, on that. It mainly was faulty electricity. Like, literally my my toilet was the same age as my aunt, who's 40. Okay, so 40-year-old toilet in a unit that says that everything is brand new, it's been replaced, and really it's new used shit. But I'd like to get your opinion on the way that property managements work. Kind of get your personal story with GREYSTAR Property, because we both dealt with them. And how it is now. I don't know if you're still under property management there, or have them as a property manager. But what was kind of like the life like living in a slum, living under a slumlord? So
well, I'm trying to picture, because like I know the houses or whatever, there's only a couple that are there, so like I wonder if it's the one with all the dogs or whatever. But anyway, so but like I my wife's from Ontario, or so-called, Ontario. And I'm originally from Philly, and we actually lived in another GREYSTAR property over there, and there were roaches and a lot of the similar sort of things to what we've already been getting into. So we moved in July, back west, back out here to the Highlands at Grand Terrace, and which is a GREYSTAR, property, and the 50
oh
number
wow,
was just like,
you're in the Highlands. You lived in the Highlands.
I did. That was the
Wow,
place that
I wonder if
instigated
we
all that.
lived there at the same time.
Yeah, it
Because
could be.
when you pulled into the Highlands, the first entrance, you would go past the leasing office, and I was the corner unit. I always had
Okay.
a Free Palestine flag out there. I
Hell
had
yeah.
I had a little ecosystem I was growing
That's
on my
amazing.
patio.
Love it.
That's crazy. I didn't know. I
Yeah.
just said it off of a whim. That's crazy that you lived at the Highlands.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so that's where we were, and I mean, from the beginning, it was just kind of crazy. Obviously, like you said, Southern California, just trying to get a place. And so, it was kind of just like lesser of two evils or whatever of the different options that we had. And they were playing ball, I guess, or whatever, so to speak, because like, how fucking crazy it is with all the like work you have to do, all the money you have to pay, like to even get considered. And so like, yeah, so, we have the cat that you saw, we have a dog, and like we had to pay all this extra money and deposit for them, and then monthly rent and whatever for them as well. And speaking of like electricity or like kind of bigger structural issues, like a week or two into moving there, the sink in the kitchen had a problem where it was literally like flooding the apartment
Yep.
with like an inch or two of water. And then like, so then the apartment beneath us was like flooding. And honestly, the most dramatic thing was fucking that, like, I know that the moratorium on evictions went up, right,
Yep.
a couple of months ago or whatever. And like, and I don't know if you saw in like NorCal or whatever, where they were having like fucking parties about it, these landlord, like
Yeah, they
people.
were
But yeah,
bunch of
anyway, but like,
fascists.
I'm sorry.
No, I said they're a bunch of fascists.
Yeah,
Just
fuck yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so like, anyway, so it was just jarring for me because I guess of my privilege or whatever, but like because two of our neighbors, like literally like one beneath us, one across from us, got evicted, like cops to the door and everything. Like they'd already moved out and whatever. But and then there were cops all the time, like I'm sure you know, but sorry, there's the cat again. But like there were, yeah, cops all the time, just like moving around, and like you said, it embodying that relationship between the town and the city, and the slumlords, the property managers and whatever. And so yeah, that was pretty crazy. And then ultimately, I guess the biggest problem, oh, another one was that the fucking, so we we're kind of into like fitness or health or whatever, my wife and I, and like they had two gyms, and so it was like, okay, cool, that's going to be like a perk or whatever.
you could
Neither gym
never.
whole time was operational. Actually, one time it was operational, or it looked like it was. I went in, I almost hurt myself on the fucking treadmill because it worked for like a minute and then just stopped all of a sudden. It was like, what the fuck? And like, yeah, so that was like a big one that they were just like bullshitting. Oh, the fucking, I'm sure the laundry door thing, like
Yep.
just that those were decrepit and whatever. And like, but yeah, the biggest thing, honestly, the biggest fu was that like when we left, I worked my ass off, like scrubbing everything, just making sure everything was like clean and
They still
looking
found a way
pristine.
to
And I
fuck
made
you
an
on your
appointment,
closet.
which I heard that they don't like to do, which I
Yeah,
heard
they
that they
don't.
actively avoid. But they were like, okay, fine, we'll do this appointment. And the guy came and he's like, oh well, yeah, everything's good. Maybe it's gonna be like there's gonna be a cleaning fee or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I figure you guys are like dirtbags or whatever the owners
Yeah,
are, right? And
any,
so
any
I'm
way
like,
to keep
okay,
your money.
but like they took the entire thing,
Yeah.
and we owed 20 something bucks, and it was like we literally paid, you know, over the 2 months rent and everything because we had the pets too and we had
Yeah.
whatever else. And so it was like it went from oh, you're gonna get something back or maybe or whatever to you owe us actually some money. And I'm like, my wife was trying to push back and whatever. And I'm like, these motherfuckers will go right to collections. They will go right to
Yep.
like, whatever over $20. Like, it's just fucking crazy, the level of greed and just like,
Mhm.
whatever. And I don't fault the folks, necessarily. I know that with GREYSTAR, there are a lot of really fucking awful managers, and I'm sure you can speak to that. But it's
Mhm.
like, I don't know that every single person working there is awful. So I try not to like shit on the workers to whatever degree I can. But like, yeah, it's just crazy how institutional it is. But I mean, when you look at GREYSTAR in particular, they're owned by
Mhm.
BlackRock, right? Like, which also primarily owns Amazon and owns, so it's like, it's so perfect that you want to dig into the deeper, things here, because it's literally like you're looking at these different, arms of the fucking racial capitalist hellscape or whatever,
Yep.
empire. And so, yeah, I don't know, but I'm glad that we're connecting and digging into all this shit.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I'm for one, I'm gonna ask you a couple questions because you did say there was like a lot of police that were there.
Yeah,
What time frame did you live at the Highlands, and what time
sure.
frame did you leave? If we
Yeah, so it
can,
was
so I
just
can.
like July through December, so like 6 months. Of
Okay, and
this,
this
or of 23.
of 2023. Okay,
Yeah.
unfortunately I was already gone. So I lived at
Mhm.
the Highlands from literally from 420 to
Mhm.
420 2000. So like if you're a weed smoker.
Yeah, I got you.
I moved in on 420 2018, and I stayed there through the whole manatorium of where they couldn't
Mm.
evict us.
Yeah, Yeah.
They couldn't do anything like that.
Mm.
But then they were still like posting, like you owe rent. Like this is like, well, I wish I could
Wow.
fucking pay it, but
Yeah.
there's a fucking pandemic
Jesus.
going on right now. My hours were reduced,
Mm. Mm.
stuff like that. And
Yeah.
but the biggest thing that I dealt with GREYSTAR, which
Mm.
was the successor of Avenue 5 Residential. So
Mm.
when I got a hold of Avenue 5 Residential, called them out on their shit.
Mm.
If you know like the foliage and stuff that's on like the property, like those it's called a Algerian ivy.
Okay.
Or yeah, I think it's Algerian ivy. Yeah, I think
Mhm.
that's where field mice love to roam. They
Oh,
love
wow.
to nest. And when
Mm.
I went when they started coming at me, I started going after them. I started calling the
Mm.
code enforcement, starting to say, "Well, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. I have a
Yeah.
big ass
Hell yeah.
crack
Mhm.
that's on my patio that's
Yeah.
leaking water.
Right.
Standing water is an issue.
Yeah.
There's a bee problem." So like when they started to fuck with me, I started to
Mm.
fuck with them.
Yeah.
And I can actually say I had about 20 people that would come to me every single day
Mm.
saying, "Hey, this is wrong. Something's wrong in my unit.
Mm.
Can you come and take a
Yeah.
look at it? Can you come take pictures? Can you spread awareness about this?"
Yeah.
I still have numbers, text messages
Mm.
of people sending me pictures of leaks.
Mm.
There's a if you didn't know, all the way in the back where the dog park was, there was a fucking
Mhm.
sinkhole that someone fell almost 4
Oh
feet
my
into.
god. Holy shit.
It was a sinkhole, and it was because
Oh.
they had a pipe that they weren't addressing at all. They
Mm.
just cut water off to it,
Mm.
which didn't do anything at all.
Mm.
You bring up like the gymnasiums. The
Mm.
gymnasiums by far were the most dangerous areas to
Mm.
be in because
Mm.
for one, you go in there and it's a 24-hour thing, but the way that they're set up is anybody can just walk in, anybody can just come behind you, rob you of
Mm.
some sort, and then
Yeah.
in many instances that did happen.
Mm. Yeah.
So safety not being a good in being an issue that's that
Mm.
was very prevalent there.
Yeah.
But my main thing was when GREYSTAR decided to allow a neo-Nazi
Mm.
to live there,
Mm.
which by for which my family was targeted by. SWAT knew about it. San Bernardino
Mm.
County sheriffs knew about it. They knew
Mm.
about my family. They knew what he
Mm.
was going to do. They knew what his plans were as soon as he got into the correctional
Yes.
facilities. As soon as he left the
Mm.
correctional facilities, what
Yeah.
his job was to do.
Right.
They knew all this and they
Mm.
hid it.
Mm.
ABC7 even till this day
Wow.
denies it even denies that they got the story wrong, that we
Mm.
were just following what someone sent to us. Now, I'm a
Mm.
journalist. I know
Hell
that
yeah.
before you go and you cover something, you need to know names, you need to
Mm.
know the facts of why this
Mhm.
is happening, and you
Yeah.
also need to create an articulate story that gets this to the viewers in a way that makes them understand. Now,
Yeah.
I think her name is Leanne Suter.
Mhm.
She works for ABC7.
Mhm.
How is it that you didn't know the guy's name at the
Mm.
Bass Pro Shop that was shot and
Mm.
killed by sheriffs, who was hunted by U.S. Marshals, had a warrant out for attempted murder on my dad?
Mm. Oh
Okay,
my
how did
god.
you not? How did you not know his name, and why did you not conceal his
Mm.
name to the public? Now, I find it
Mm.
funny that we are post,
Mm.
George Floyd, we're post Black Lives Matter around that time,
Mm.
so this would spark racial anguish. This
Mm.
will create a lot of not mass hysteria, but this will get people to understand that
Mm.
this problem has never left. It
Yeah.
never left, and it never will until we address the primary contradictions that is white
Mm.
hegemony.
Yes.
And so that was kind of the last straw with them. When that happened to my dad, they did everything that they possibly could. We'll fix this, we'll fix that, we'll fix this.
Mm.
Now,
Mm.
mind you, the people who fix GREYSTAR Property Management, who
Mm.
are the maintenance men there, they
Yeah.
live there. They live there.
Yeah.
So their units are up to date. Their units are fucking immaculate.
Mhm.
They got the high tech shit in there,
Mhm.
and whatnot.
Yeah.
While they're subjugated,
Mm.
they're subjugating people
Yeah.
to these types of conditions.
Yeah.
So, you know, I would have not in essence have pushback on like what you said in essence to
Please.
like do these people know they boldly know what the fuck is
Mm.
going on and they don't
Yeah.
care,
No, you know. Yeah, I hear you.
because some of these individuals they get
Mm.
a percentage off of their rent if they
Fuck.
stay there. Yes,
Mm.
there was a property management a property agent that was working
Mhm.
in the Highlands, that lived in the Highlands,
Yeah.
and she was a snake. She was a
Mm.
snitch. She used to
Mm.
tattletale on everybody
Mm.
on what they could and couldn't have on their patio. She'd be
Mm.
creeping in the wee morning or early mornings with her little rat dog,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah,
It's
that's
and
crazy.
no offense to Chihuahuas out there.
No, please.
You know, but she would come out with her little rat dog and would just wreak havoc. And she was
Mm.
I'm just gonna call it how I see it. She was a bitch. She
Yeah,
was a bitch.
yeah.
And when she left, another one came in, and
Mm.
then another one came in, and then
Mm.
another one came in. So it was like these people know what they're doing. They
Yeah,
know exactly how this
yeah,
system works, and they don't care.
yep,
And some of these individuals actually go to school to be pieces of shits
yep,
in what will be
yep.
business. This is
And
business,
right,
you know.
and that does fit with what I was saying about like reading all the stories about Greystar all around the
Exactly.
country at like these hundreds of, because the 50 was just however many fucking Google listings there were on the map, but I know that Greystar
Right, but
has so
there
many
could be
fucking
hundreds.
locations. Yeah, and but like the stories, it's like all that shit like you're saying, and it does seem, you're right, like they train their fucking workers or managers or whatever in that way where they're just super exploitative and like systematically ignore or like refuse
Yep.
to engage with even tenants. That was like a key thing I kept reading too. Anyway, crazy.
Yeah, no, and the Greystar as a whole, my encounter, with them,
Mm.
uh, it got a little bit more even more personal because I am a
Mm.
victim of the massacre that happened here in Las Vegas, the Route 66 massacre.
Wow. Mm.
So the fact that one of the property managers was a victim as well, she
Mm.
used that as like
Weaponized it.
every
Yeah.
time, like it's like a
Hmm.
weaponization, like, oh,
Hmm.
you're becoming very belligerent, are you
Hmm.
okay, do you need to take a breather, I know we've been through some shit,
Wow.
we've been through some shit, you might have some post-traumatic stress going
Mm.
on.
Mm.
When that started to happen, I it was very hard for me to contain my thoughts
Yeah.
about them, because
Yeah.
it's like now you're insulting me and then disrespecting me
Mm.
and what you think is an ailment,
Mm. Yeah.
because I went through that situation.
Right.
I've already gone through what I felt is
Yep.
the much needed care,
Hmm.
for that. Was I
Yeah.
directly affected by the Harvest Massacre?
Hmm.
No, I was on my way home from work when that
Hmm.
happened.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
happened that the bus that I was in got shot up,
Mm.
so did I get any inflicting wounds? No, none of these.
Mm.
But for her to use that as like
Yeah.
a weapon, like to weaponize
Right.
my stress levels, and
Hmm.
weaponize an
Hmm.
interpretation of how she thinks I'm feeling,
Hmm.
I thought was fucked up. I thought was
Mm.
very manipulative.
Yeah.
And to know that Greystar, Avenue 5, Avenue 5 residential,
Mm.
gave it to Greystar, and I think
Hmm.
Greystar is no longer at the Highlands. I don't think they are, or I don't think they're there anymore. They well, no, actually, because you have
They
this
still have the
description of them.
email. Yeah. They're
Yeah,
they're still
so
using greystar.com. Yeah.
yeah, so they these companies, they get away with this, and it's like business as usual.
Yep.
So my next question, would be, is like, how do we fix these problems? Because we can't just go to the
Mm.
city anymore. The city
Mm.
works hand in hand,
Yeah.
with I can even say I could use the Highlands as an example, the city
Yeah.
of Grand
Yeah.
Terrace.
Go.
The
Hmm.
code enforcement, her name is Casey.
Mm.
Before that, it was Chaz Ferguson. Chaz
Okay.
Ferguson was the individual who was who really kept things, like, put people in their place. He put
Mm.
property managements.
Oh,
So I
good.
actually have the citation. I had a water heater that was already deemed hazardous, and
Mm.
then was peaking temperatures of over 300 degrees.
God.
So, and the fire marshal came out,
Mm.
the Chaz Ferguson came out. He
Mm.
said, I don't know who gave you the authorization
Mm.
to move into this unit, but they
Yeah.
need to be fired.
Mm.
And it just so happened that the person who signed the lease over to me
Yeah. Yeah.
for this, she doesn't even work for the company anymore. So it was like the
Hmm.
amount of accountability
Yep.
that's lacking comes
Yep.
from, as soon as you come to them with cold
Yep.
hard facts that they
Yeah.
gave you a faulty unit, they
Yep.
start making plans to transfer people out.
Yep.
So now it's not the same people that are here. There was a
Yep.
guy, um, I asked him to not wear the Blue Lives Matter flag thing in my house. I have
Good.
people of
Yeah.
color. I have people
Mhm.
who are indigenous. I have people who are
Yeah.
subjugated by police brutality. And for your
Mhm.
punk ass to come into my unit with
Mm.
that bullshit ass flag,
Yep. Yeah.
I'm not gonna stand for it. So he
Oh
did it
yeah.
multiple and multiple, multiple times. I
Mm.
finally got tired of it. And I told him, I said, look, dog, I don't care if you work here, if you don't.
Mm.
Me and you will be squabbling it the fuck up if you do not
Mm.
fucking stop coming into my unit wearing that shit.
Yeah.
Not
Hell
even
yeah.
and then on top of that, you're a fucking minority too. So you look like a fucking buffoon wearing
Mm.
that shit, not
Yeah.
knowing exactly how it subjugates your community just as much as it does mine.
Amen.
So when I started getting really, really stern with them,
Mhm.
you know, then I started making complaints. I started calling the Better Business Bureau. I started
Hell yeah.
calling the landlord and the people who control the landlord and tenantship there,
Yeah.
who the rights and whatnot. I forget the
Mhm.
name. I have a little brain fog, but I
Mhm.
called these higher up, places that work with the
Yeah.
county and whatnot.
Mhm.
These individuals got all my information,
Mm.
got everything that I said to them, and they were like, "Oh, now you're gonna have to subpoena us for your information that justifies your exactly." So I would have to get a lawyer to subpoena them for that, to use that as evidence against them that they're in violation of
Mm.
multiple unlawful laws.
Mm.
I found that to be fucking hilarious, and
Yep.
it encompasses into the code enforcement working with the property management,
Mhm.
because guess what? They get tax write-offs and they also get bonuses if they say that their units are perfect. If they say
Yep.
that they have a good standing relationship with tenants. People
Yep.
aren't just moving in and out anymore.
Yep.
We have people that
Mhm.
have been here for years. They get a
Yeah.
bonus from the city for them to do upkeep. Where does
Yeah.
those bonuses go? They go into the hands of the property managers. They go
Yep.
right into their checkbooks,
Yep.
or they
I get
they
it.
they create these, like, the Highlands,
Mhm.
bringing, and this is an idea that that's gonna shock you too.
Mm.
I used to sell food. I
Mhm.
wanted to be a meal prepper and all that. I
Mhm.
went through the ranks of doing that as much as anybody else was probably an entrepreneur trying to
Mhm.
create a side hustle. That was me. Now during COVID, I had
Mhm.
asked the Highlands property manager, can I sell food out of my house? Or
Mm.
mind you, can I set up in front of your
Right.
leasing office?
Yeah.
They went and took my idea that would have been able to help me pay my rent
Right.
and said no, and then leased out daily these pizzeria, like the pizza guy that used to come with that
Yeah.
big ass brick
Yeah.
fucking oven
They
and
keep
shit.
doing stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
shit like that, trying to make it seem like, oh, we'll bring the food to you.
Mm.
All the while they're getting a cut out
And
of
then
that.
they're
A
gonna
lot of
yeah.
And
Mhm.
they're getting a cut out of it. They're getting
Mhm.
40%.
Yep.
40% of it. I asked the pizza guy, I said, how much does
Yeah.
the Highlands get out of this? Oh,
Yeah.
we pay them 40% of whatever we make here, which is why their pizzas are fucking $20 for a
Mm.
little disc,
Yeah. I hear
you
you.
know?
Fucking
So,
crazy.
how do we fix this? How do we address this? Because we can't go to the city. The
Right.
city works with them. The city
Right.
and uses the Browns Act, to
Yeah.
hide behind, answering these questions.
Mm.
So what would be the next steps? Because people now, if they were to say, hey, I'm not gonna pay my rent, the
Right.
mandatorium is not gonna save them anymore. So you're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what are some viable solutions that we could
Yeah.
potentially come to that, get people, to understand their rights, and I have one thing that I used to do. I used to canvas
Mm.
the district apartment
Mhm.
homes. I used to canvas and let people
Mhm.
know, hey, these are your rights. This is what's going
Yeah.
on and
Yeah.
whatnot. But I feel like even that is still not enough.
Yeah.
I feel like we would need individuals to have like a mass, uh, in essence, walkout. I'm not paying
Yeah.
my rent. No one's
Hell yeah.
paying their rent. So you're just gonna have to evict us all. You can't
Exactly.
evict us
Yeah.
all because that's too much paperwork.
Yep. Yep.
So, you
And
know,
that's what you see even with like workers, like, right, I said like I don't work for a union per se,
mhm,
but it's a worker center, and so we literally help workers who are in these exact situations. Housing is one of the biggest things that
yeah,
a lot of these undocumented warehouse workers and just low wage folks are dealing with, and it's like um they just don't know. Folks don't know. We don't know. I didn't, understand about tenants' rights, and you're teaching me shit right now that I didn't know, and avenues and ways to fight it, and like, even just like I said, reading all these stories about GREYSTAR
yeah,
and realizing that like so many people from all walks of life, have dealt with this and deal with this kind of shit daily. It's like yeah, I feel like so much of it is just what you're doing and sharing already, like the education and the support. Because yeah, like canvassing or whatever, one act alone might not do it, but it's like, that's why I don't even write off like fucking electoralism. We're revolutionary, comrades here, but it's like,
Mhm.
I definitely think that like, you know, um, a movement like Stop Cop City, for instance, which I think is apt to mention because it's the Day of the Forest Defender today, honoring Tortuguita,
Yep.
who was murdered by police in the forest. But it's like, that movement embodies the fact that like we have to have electoralism, we have to have, legal about it, we have to do every avenue we possibly can. Like again, you're already doing, where it's like then we're just maintaining that pressure. But we need so many folks like you that are educated and doing that agitation and whatnot, organizing, because it's like then yeah we have that groundswell. But yeah, we don't necessarily need like a tenants union per se, or we do, but it's like that's not necessarily like doable in the short term. I would say everywhere it is in a lot of places, and I love that. I find hope and encouragement in that. But like I think just like you said, mass walkouts or sort of selective or whatever kind of walkouts where you're able to come together and yeah, that's the sort of work model. But whatever that would look like in terms of like a rent strike or whatever. Yeah, I'm totally with you. We just need to, keep having these conversations, keep
Yeah.
normalizing it. And I've seen a shift, about landlords and about housing and stuff, just broadly in the culture where it's like, folks are more and more vocal about it. And like I said, even just going through the hundreds of fucking reviews about GREYSTAR on Google, it's like you literally have, fucking Blue Lives Murder, whatever kind of people that are writing the same kind of shit and making these same, things. And that's why I think that unions and shit like this are great ways to radicalize folks and help them appreciate that, like you said, you're not actually, especially if you're a BIPOC, comrade or whatever, you're not, benefiting from white hegemony. You're not, yeah, by and large, building a better world for yourself. But yeah, it goes for folks like, you know, whatever white folks, I guess too, that gladly sort of, espouse white hegemony and all that shit, because it's like they think that it's benefiting them or whatever. And not to say that like we're going to work with fucking fascists, because we're not. And I fucking
Right.
with any kind of way that we can bring the fight to them, I'm totally here for that. But I'm just saying, folks that aren't that far gone, but that do kind of like um, truck with those narratives, they can be brought into the struggle because they are fucking workers like us, and they have to live and they have to get paid and whatever. So it's just like, yeah, I think that anything like this, whether you look at housing or wages or whatever, it's an opportunity to educate and just help folks organize and get plugged into this struggle. So yeah, please go for it.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say I have some reviews on Greystar so you guys can get an
Hmm.
understanding. This is in Las Vegas. Oh wow, this is in Las Vegas. Um, let me. I mean, we can go through it. Greystar is Greystar in general. So, this is the Greystar regional office page. Our goal is always to provide excellent customer service, and it proves we have missed the mark in the community. They miss the mark almost every single. And this is the basic corporate, I'm sorry response
Yep.
to just being a shitty fucking landlord.
And that
Um,
they got coaching on this shit because they
exactly,
literally respond to all the different locations, not just that one, but like they have the audacity to fucking put those responses, and it's like you're not listening at all to like anything that folks
exactly.
are sharing, obviously, or you wouldn't be in this fucking position.
Let me pull
Oh
up
my god,
Greystar
makes my
property
blood
management
boil.
California.
You might want to click like the maps view. That's a quicker way to get all the listings up. There you go.
Okay, yeah. So these are all the gray stars that currently reside on the West Coast. Now, I could click here. I could click any of these. Let me actually go to the one that
Well, and those are
matters.
just like the management, you know what I mean? Like Google listings,
Yeah,
that doesn't even account for how many properties they might have or whatever. Like,
exactly. And if I was to go to like their website, um,
but yeah,
they would
there's so
have
much.
hundreds of listings.
Exactly.
Um, let me see.
But yeah, you look at that, right? 1 star, 1 star, 1 star. There's nothing above like 2.5 anywhere in the country for any kind of gray star.
And the most they got is like maybe a 1.7.
And people
You
are
know,
writing books. I know I already told you, but fucking man. Oh man.
let me see here.
But yeah, it's like what an opportunity, right? Where you're like, so it seems like maybe this system is a little fucked, and maybe you would benefit from some organizing and some solidarity, brother or comrade. Oh man, that'll be my revolutionary reply to these reviews.
All right, so this is the district apartment homes that, because when I searched up here, let me actually let me show you the Highlands, because this is an issue too that Google helps and aids these
Oh yeah.
apartments by taking off any bad or negative review. They're trying, oh, it's false, this is not really what's happening, it's misleading, and really it's the truth. They just don't want the truth to be out there.
Yep.
And so Google will use in essence their algorithm, their tools, and they will literally delete legitimate complaints that are against the property management, against the property in general, that show the damages that were inflicted not by them
Yeah.
but by the property for not having well upkeep, whether that mean roaches, rats, whether that mean an infestation of bees, whether that mean ants, whether that mean faulty wiring, drywall, mold, the fact that there was mold in some of these units, asbestos, not keeping up, using painting a new unit and not telling anybody that you're painting, and now fumes are coming down into people's units and shit through the vents because it's central AC. It's stuff like that that I
That was
don't
a
think
huge
people,
problem we dealt with for like weeks.
yeah, and it was big when I was living in the Highlands. Let me see, view all. See right here, 1 star. All right.
The good news with GREYSTAR is that Google can't fucking keep up, because there are literally so many of these reviews, and people mark them as helpful. Look at that, 10 different people marked that review, the 1 star review right there. So like, yeah,
As
no,
someone who's
their
lived
only
here
bet is never like putting their name on anything. Sorry, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. As someone who used to live, who lived here twice and used to love it here, I suggest reading the bad reviews and looking elsewhere unless you're comfortable with leaving the quality of your experience up to luck. The apartments look nice, but the quality. Let me see right here. But the quality of your own unit can vary a lot. The amenities are constantly vandalized, shut down, and you can't count on management to deal with any issues. They also push everyone for good reviews, so a bunch of their good reviews are either from people who toured or just signed their lease, not long time residents who know the property. One of the major issues is the lack of thorough inspection of units before move-in. When I moved in here in 2017, we were in the middle of a heat wave and found out our AC unit was broke the first day. I actually have an AC story to tell as well. After a week of dealing with a rude office management team and enduring mid-90s temperatures in our apartment, they finally replaced the AC after we threatened to call the news. This was a terrible start to our lease, but the rest of our experience was okay. When I moved back into a newly renovated unit earlier this year, this is a 3.9 review. I thought, is it a 1 star?
No, it's
ensuring the focus was on superficial upgrades like repainting and replacing appliances rather than ensuring the unit was in good condition. Issues like mold, just said that, on the fridge water line, cabinets hanging off their hinges. This is like I feel like I'm in a Fuji song right now, singing my life with his words. A cracked bedroom window, a broken garage, garbage disposal were overlooked. While maintenance generally responds quickly, these issues should be addressed before move-in. My main issue has been with noisy neighbors. I moved into a downstairs unit again, knowing some of the noise is to be expected, but the constantly running and jumping from the kids upstairs is unbearable. This is starting to sound like a Karen.
Right? We're getting a little,
Yeah, it's Karen.
But if you start with the
like,
lowest, you should
yeah,
probably be able to get there.
right here. The management and office crew were not helpful at all. The manager never wants to talk customers. Instead, they send the office workers to be messengers when he is literally in the other in the other side of the door. Office works with local tow company. Yep.
Oh my God! Yes. Go
Yep.
off.
We gotta talk about this.
Hell
We gotta talk about this. Okay.
Hell yeah.
So there's a towing company in Southern California, and they are everywhere, and they work with every property management. They're called Wilson's Towing. I can look them up right now. They are by far the most racist, the most fun. They will search in the early mornings, and this is something that I think is a fucking issue that I have as well. Is that how do you expect people to pay their rent when you are working with tow companies that in part are working with the fucking city, that are also in part working with the sheriff's department to get people who don't have insurance, who don't have registration? How do you expect us to go to work to provide to get all this shit when you are in cahoots with the fucking tow companies that are taking people's cars?
It's so bald.
And then they're stealing, and then they were stealing cars. They tried to take our car, tried to say that we didn't have registration. We didn't have, I'm not leaving my stickers on my fucking thing so that someone can come and fucking key them off and put them on their own fucking car. I'm not doing that. Also, what the fuck is your you're not the police. You're not the police.
Who the fuck are you?
So who the fuck are you to sit there and parade? And then they're in unmarked cars too. They're in fucking regular ass cars going around looking in people's cars and shit. People's cars were getting broken into. There was one car I seen, because you know at the back of the Highlands there's Grand Terrace Parkway right there. And there's a field there that's like a little view and whatnot. The tow truck companies used to literally park right there. They would pick somebody's car up. I seen a fucking tow truck driver pick up a fucking Jeep Grand Cherokee. It had a 2-month-old baby in the back. A 2-month-old baby in the back. Picks it up, tries to drive away. I'm chasing after him. I'm like, fucking stop. The lady was taking groceries out of her car. Everywhere in the Highlands is marked red line. It's for fire.
Right. You can never find parking.
How are people supposed to get their groceries inside when you assign them a parking space that's fucking a quarter of a fucking mile away from their unit? Okay, where they can't see their car. They don't know if their car's being fucked with. And it all is a part of the plan, which is to fuck the person who's renting there, cause all the havoc that they possibly can via Wilson's Towing, and then blame it on you because you're not paying your bills. You didn't pay for insurance. It's none of your business. Are you getting rent? Is rent being paid? If rent's being paid, shut the fuck up.
Right.
Why are you coming after me and mines, or coming after people who can barely, under the capitalist mode, are barely scratching the surface? Barely scratching the surface for being able to live comfortably. Even then, comfortably should be questioned.
Yeah.
So
did they ever pay anything for that fucking thing with the child? No, right? No accountability.
The lady stopped. The lady was coming out because she seen me running, and she goes and and I told the dude, I said, "What the fuck is your problem?" He had a smirk on his face, like it was fucking funny. I said, "If you weren't in that fucking car right now," I said, "I'd beat your ass. I would beat your ass."
Yeah.
Because you know what the fuck you're doing. You know, walking around, looking in people's cars, searching through shit that you're not supposed to. Or you like a fucking Inspector Gadget and shit. You know, it's like it's fucking ridiculous. And this is how they work. This is how they operate. Everybody works in cahoots. This Wilson Towing, I will be making an episode on them because they are the #1 thieves when it comes to fucking cars. And then when you get your car taken by them, it hundreds of dollars in fees. Then you got to go to a place where they offload your fucking car at. Okay, my sister's car got repoed. Okay, we had to go to a place. The middle of fucking. It looked like fucking Devore. Okay, just the middle of nowhere. Okay, and it's in this field. And then come to find out, her hood was fucked with. And I personally think they switched her hood out. That's what I think.
Yeah.
I think that they fucked with her hood. They were fucking
Yep.
with something in her car,
Mhm.
and she never really got down to the meat
Yeah.
and potatoes and to understanding them. You know, but this is how GREYSTAR operates. They
Yep.
work with tow companies. They
Yep.
work with the sheriff's department.
Yep. Yep. And this is hundreds of, because it's like everything that you're perfectly like, sharing from your experiences and shit. It's
Yeah,
like we have to just think about on a national, like fucking, or I guess global or whatever, but
yeah,
like level, because it's like that's the systems of like violence that you were experiencing, that so many of us are experiencing. They've just standard. It's all just policy. It's all like,
yeah.
abdicating again,
Business
that
as usual.
responsibility and divorcing, like you said about the managers, how they do that. But it's like, I don't know if you saw the thing yesterday with the fucking meat plant with the worker who got pulled into the machine and killed, a 16-year-old
No.
migrant worker. Yeah, but it's like they're giant companies that have these
Mhm.
contracts. That was in the South, but it's like they're giant companies, is like whether it's Hyundai or whatever, like they know how to insulate themselves from all this stuff. And that's why we keep saying about the Google stuff, that's why they don't put their fucking name on their actual properties. Like it just says
Exactly.
Highlands or whatever, because they know that everything that they're doing is wrong, and that they will insulate themselves or try to do, whatever they
Yeah,
can to
and it's
never be
loopholes.
accountable. Exactly.
And it's loopholes that they create so that way it takes you longer to find the root
Hmm.
cause of it all,
Yep.
which I feel Google should be accountable. If you
Hmm.
know that these places are bad, list them as bad.
Yep.
Don't work and be in cahoots,
Yep.
with these property managements.
Yep.
If the property management is questioning a bad review, you should be
Hmm.
questioning the property management. Well,
Right.
why do
Yeah.
you want this removed?
Yeah.
Why? Whoa, I don't know.
They shut you down. Google didn't like that.
That's what happens. That's what my ass did.
Uh-huh.
I was talking too much shit. Ooh, okay. I'm hoping that I'm just gonna leave that in there because I feel
That's
like
real. Yeah.
as soon as I started talking about
Mhm.
them in the manner that and
Mhm.
happens a lot on StreamYard.
Yep.
It
Yep.
happens a
We're
lot
on
on
Chrome right
StreamYard. So I
now.
am
All right.
calling you out, StreamYard, because you
Yep.
do this a lot. You
Mm.
did this. And I actually have a problem with StreamYard. I've been trying to get a wrestling podcast up, sub
Yeah.
podcast up and going. And for the life of me and my comrades that
Mm.
that I'm gonna be doing this, we
Mm.
can't seem to get good bandwidth on here. Like it's
Mm.
lagging, a 5-second delay. So
Mm.
yeah, fuck you, StreamYard. I'm just gonna say that. That was fucked up. I was on I even forgot
You
what the
were.
fuck I was supposed to say. But
Well,
like
you were saying Google shouldn't, be
yeah,
complicit in.
Google should, thank you. Google,
Mhm.
in essence, should not be just removing whatever they feel, is untruthful when it has merit to it, especially
Yep.
when there's photos.
Yeah.
They've deleted
Yep.
actual photos of people either sustaining injuries from these units,
Mhm.
whether it be damages
Yeah.
and whatnot. And
Pictures,
I can
videos.
show
Yeah. Mhm.
personal pictures and shit. Let me see
Mhm.
if I could
Yeah.
bring this up.
Yeah, and they shouldn't
Um,
let because they're definitely, facilitating all this with like allowing Greystar to have so many fucking different listings for all the different properties and not showing the hundreds of reviews about the company, that exist on their platform. Like by allowing Greystar to have like, I guess, if you include all their corporate ones and their list, they probably have like 500 or something fucking listings. Like they could just put them all together, and they, like you said, absolutely bury the bad ones, because it wasn't until I was looking for all these ones at Highlands that I got to it. And you're right, they have like systems for prioritizing the better ones. Yeah, no doubt.
I'm trying to find the pictures that I have of the district and the
Yeah.
Highlands, but
Hmm.
everything that was kind of listed in that article or in that review,
Hmm.
was verbatim kind of what I went through, and I'm pretty sure what you went through. And it's funny
Yep.
because it's the same thing over and over and over again. It's like uh, enacting insanity, doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different outcome. They,
Yep.
you consistently, it's like putting makeup on a pig trying to call it a
Yeah.
woman. You know, it like that.
Yeah.
It
But
it
it's
doesn't
working for them. The outcome's good
exactly.
for them. They're happy
Yeah,
with,
business as
the
usual.
gentrification, the violence of, evictions, the like at every
Yep.
stage, like you said, they're getting their cut, they're getting their piece. And so, the system's working just fine for them. The only problem are us. The only problem is any kind of pushback that they can't just quell. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and you know, to kind of, we did, I feel like I veered off a little bit. Um,
Please.
solutions for this, are going to have to be radical in order
Hmm.
for us to change the circumstances, which means
Yeah.
putting in, there's laws that they try and implement or policies like, oh,
Hmm.
what about the damages? What if I fix the damages myself? Can I deduct that from my rent? Yes, you can. But
Hmm.
then you get into this hassle of them trying to say, oh, well, you caused damage now. You
Mm.
damaged our unit because you
Mm.
you
Yep.
you didn't use somebody that we were supposed to use. It's like, and
Yep.
and maybe I should probably get I know the people who work on the units at the
Hmm.
Highlands.
Yeah.
I'm very much good friends with them. Their name is Saad.
Hmm.
They live in the Highlands apartment homes,
Mm.
and they're the maintenance workers. They're the Palestinian maintenance workers. They're all
Wow.
Palestinian. Some of them are Lebanese.
Mm.
Very very beautiful, humble people.
Mm.
When Ramadan when was going on, we relied on each other,
Mm.
to kind of get us through. Like I remember one
Mm.
time the dude he had been practicing Ramadan his whole life, so for him it was so easy to get into that. And for me, I
Mm.
I practice Ramadan not just for the fasting, but because I do have friends that are no longer here that I try
Mm.
and respect that for them, and carry that on. Maybe that's a
Mm.
little weird, but that's just me.
Mm.
Um, you know, and he's seen me struggling. I was like, I struggling. I was about to faint, and
Mm.
he told me, he said, this is like a test,
Mm.
as much as it is, a part of your journey.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
never think that this is the end, like
Mm. Yeah.
next day it'll get easier, it'll get easier.
Mm.
And they were such beautiful people.
Mm.
I owe them a lot of respect, because during that time frame when my dad was targeted by neo-Nazis, they did
Mm.
everything that they possibly could to make sure that our unit was
Mm.
intact, so that no one
Yeah.
bothered us, that
Yeah.
we would have our solace, we would have our peace
Mm.
of mind, and they would
Mm.
look out for us and stuff like
Mm.
that, or keep me on my toes. Hey,
Yeah.
they're getting ready to do something to you guys.
Yeah. Mm.
We just want to let you know.
Right.
Um, these people are even subjugated by
Mm.
faulty equipment and stuff like that,
Right.
because they
Yeah.
can't fix their own unit. And
Yeah.
that was one of the biggest problems, was
Mm.
they work on your units, you don't give them a discount for them, they pay full price, but then
Mm.
when they need work done, they have
Mm.
to do it,
Mm.
you know so they have to
Yeah.
fix their own units. That's fucked
Right.
up.
Yeah.
um you know I my main focal point, and I think my probably my last question, because I do know that you do have to go around 12. um you know how do we start, you know radically getting people to understand their rights, as
Mm.
tenants,
Yeah.
and how do we formulate that into like a mass movement? Because I still have
Mm.
people that live in the Highlands that I speak to,
Mm. Yeah.
and whatnot. So it would be very easy for me to take a Greyhound bus, link up with you somewhere,
Hell yeah.
and start canvassing, Grand
Yeah.
Terrace, the
Yeah.
Highlands, and letting people know
Yeah.
we used to live here.
Right.
We were subjugated to oppression,
Yeah.
gentrification,
Yeah.
and just all out, misinformed,
Mhm.
and what I call false advertisement, because
Yeah.
that's exactly what it is. It's false
Absolutely. Yep.
advertisement.
Mhm.
um Going down there and canvassing, and that's something that I'm
Yeah.
very serious about, because as much
Yeah.
as I do live here in Vegas,
Mhm. Mhm.
I do have comrades that I still fuck with that are down there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would love to, if we can,
Great idea. Yeah.
how do we formulate, maybe this is a conversation we can have on the back burner,
Yeah. No, it's great.
privately, but I'd like to get your thoughts on
I love it.
how do we radically create tenant
Yeah.
education, and
Yeah.
getting people to be
Well,
educated in their rights.
right. I feel like, I can only speak to like what I have experience with, and my first foray into this kind of stuff was with Starbucks, was with that sort of worker organizing, and like but mainly, right, not even at like union locations. Like the Riverside one was union, the Colton one wasn't, that we did a couple things at, right? And I wasn't even engaging with the workers at all. I was literally just engaging with, the community, with, customers, and we got union folks from all over, different locals, and DSA, all kinds of folks, and like, now
I
I've
think we're
had
both
like,
DSA members, right? Are you a DSA
yeah,
member?
yes, I am.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm DSA Las Vegas, so yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, so I've had like, hundreds of interactions now with folks just talking about Starbucks, and it's like the biggest thing, right, which I think is a through line to the tenant stuff. I'm not trying to veer too off track, but it's like the biggest thing is that folks don't even know that there's a union, right? Like they
Right.
don't even know that workers are organizing, and it's a similar thing with the tenant stuff. It's like, I didn't necessarily know what my rights were in that situation, but it was heartening to know that like there are tenants that do, there are unions, there are organizing that's going on, or there is organizing that's going on, and that like, it's not as simple as like, oh, I'm powerless and we're fucked and whatever. And so like I think a huge part of this whole thing is just like letting folks know that like there is such a thing as tenants' rights, or there are folks that have unions that are able to come together and demand better and enact change. And it doesn't always look like a formal sort of thing, but like you said, there's strategic rent strikes or different kinds of actions that people can take when they come together, when they're able to build some momentum. And so I think just the biggest thing is what you're talking about, which is like figuring out ways to educate folks and have that personal, ideally in-person connection where you're just like, because it's the same thing with worker organizing. I'm learning even with, the Amazon stuff, that we're doing and whatnot. It's just like everything's relationships, everything's, these friendships that you build. And like you said, that you continue to maintain, because you care and they're valuable for you as a person as well. It's not just like some pragmatic measure, even though it's great to be, revolutionarily pragmatic or whatever, practical. And then like, so I think that yeah, the key thing is that we just keep having these conversations and bringing these conversations to folks that otherwise, just don't have the time or energy to dig into them because of the way our capitalist hellscape is set up, where, there is no time, there is no, space. It's like when people have a second, they want to fucking veg out, which is great. I get it. But it's like, so we have to make it, relevant to folks by, like you're literally saying, bringing it to their doors, bringing it to them in whatever way we can, and making it accessible. And that's a big thing for me, honestly, just in leftism broadly, or the revolution or whatever, is that like we don't live in kind of like a tower, or like, we're not so attached to like the theories and the, jargon or whatever, that like we can't relate to folks. I think it's imperative that we're always, organizing in our communities and bringing, this struggle to folks, because that's how we're actually going to change things, not just sort of like staying in a bubble or staying in, or focus on stuff that's an echo chamber in a sense.
Muted. Sorry, I was muted.
No.
No, I completely agree. And there's one thing that I think you brung up is that I wasn't really necessarily thinking is that if I do go down there, my main focal point is targeting the city. The city knows exactly who I am in Grand Terrace. They fucking despise me. And it's because I put, and figuratively speaking, I put a knee on their neck. I made it very clear to them. I sparked the first protest that happened in Grand Terrace ever.
That's
ever.
amazing.
And
Holy shit.
they tried to in part it was co-opted. So there was high schoolers and stuff like that I seen on Twitter that were getting, saying, hey, let's protest. And I seen a bunch of right wingers that were in 923. If you've ever lived in Grand Terrace, that there is a group chat called 92313 Grand Terrace, or 92313 people, or whatever. There's multiple ones. They are a racist group chat that is ran by an individual by the name of James Lawrence, who lives in Grand Terrace. He sells weed in Grand Terrace. Not that that's a problem, but
Right.
he doesn't get caught. He doesn't get away with, he doesn't or gets away with it.
Yeah.
There's,
They turn a blind eye. Yeah.
they turn a blind eye because he's fucking white,
Mm-hmm.
So I know everything that there is to know about Grand Terrace. I know that Lieutenant Lane used to get paid to drive people home who were drunk that were white. Okay. I can but there's a guy by the name of John Porto. I'm naming names right now. John Porto, Mayor Bill Huss, is it Bill Harold Duffy. He was the city manager. Motherfucker got a $1.5 million fucking contract for hiding and silencing the rape that happened at Cause Ramen. Okay. The racism that happened at Cause Ramen. Okay. There was a girl by the name of Vanessa that was that was being targeted there. Her coworkers used to call her that black girl. Okay. Cause Ramen, she used to get felt up by her managers and all that shit. You know, so I don't call Cause Ramen. I call it rape noodles because that's exactly what the fuck it is rape noodles. You know, hid every single racist act that had happened in the city of Grand Terrace. That was a black man almost getting ran over at the Chevron on the corner of Van Buren and Mount Vernon Avenue. Okay, was targeted there. Was about to be ran over at the gas station because he had a BLM because he had a BLM shirt because he was black. Okay, then tried to and this is the funny part about the protest that was enacted and this whole little Twitter shit. There's this little shit on Twitter that got a hold of Lieutenant Lane and tried to say that, you know, I'm the one who's creating the protest. No, you're not. No, you're not. Are you associated with Black Power Collective, IE? Are you associated with anybody remotely that could give you the help needed to make this a legit ass fucking protest? You don't.
Yeah.
You don't. Okay. All the while I was getting phone calls from Lieutenant Lane telling me, you better not, you start this protest and it ends ugly. We're putting charges on you. We're not putting charges on anybody else but you for acts of conspiracy and acts of terrorism is what they were going to come at me with. Is that I disturbing the peace, causing mayhem, reckless endangerment of minors because most of these individuals were 17. You know, and I told him, you're not scaring me. I don't care if you want to inflict these charges on me. I don't give a shit because they have no merit to it. So these are peaceful protesters. I said, for which you want, I said to take 50 fucking officers, which would amount to about fucking 20 squad cars that I found out. And I had people, they were parked on the other side of the the freeway. I believe that's the 215. Yeah, the 215 freeway. On the other side of the 215 where the metal factory is and whatnot. So when you go over the bridge, there's a big ass area. There was 20 squad cars that were there for 178 children that were peacefully protesting, that were going from one area of the corner to the other. They weren't stopping traffic. They were, you know, none of that, but wanted to inflict harm and danger onto them. You know, I found that I found that to be fucking whack. I found that the little punk, you know, who inevitably tried to say that he started something, I find him to be whack, because he was then given an award by the county by the county sheriffs for
trying to co-opt it.
Peaceful. Yeah, he co-opted it. He fucking co-opted it, and you know, it's all good. It's all good. The main focus of that protest was what I got out of it, which is that I seen people in that community in Grand Terrace that said we are happy that this happened because we know the racism that lives in the city of Grand Terrace. The fact that their new mayor, Bill Hussey, the fucking racist. He's a fucking racist. You know, they hide any and everything that they possibly can to make Grand Terrace seem like it's a beautiful place to live. You know, and mind you, yes, really good place to live. I'm not even gonna try to knock it. There's some really good people that are there, but there's also some fucking racists that are there. There's also a whole ass family that's lived there for 30 years. Okay. One of them lives on Country Club Lane. Okay. In the big nice houses that are above Blue Mountain or right below Blue Mountain and whatnot. Okay. Their family actively sells dope in the city of Grand Terrace and works with the sheriffs to shut down all the little fucking weed spots and whatnot, all the little dispensaries and shit. Uses the police working in cahoots. What does that sound like? Sounds a lot like what Malcolm X told us. How is it that we got more crime and but we have more cops? It's because the cops are in cahoots with the criminals, and the cops are the fucking criminals. You know, so this whole thing, and I could go on and on about Grand Terrace, and maybe this should have been, you know, maybe we can do a part 2 to this someday. But I want, if we can end off on, you did bring up Starbucks, and whatnot, and your involvement, in the
Yeah.
unionization of them,
Hmm.
which I think is dope. And I have no problem with whatsoever. But I have this argument that I am putting out there, which
Yeah.
is, should we even be caring about the unionization of workers at
Right.
Starbucks when they are actively aiding and abetting, sending money to bomb,
Yeah.
Palestine,
Yeah.
out of,
Yeah.
out of existence, basically.
Yeah.
So I'd like to get, your thoughts, because I do
Yeah.
know you work with Starbucks workers, you do
Yeah.
work with
Yeah.
unions, and what is a viable way for people to stand in solidarity with workers? Obviously,
Yeah.
is stand
Yeah.
with the
Right.
proletariat, but then
Yeah.
also stand in solidarity with the people who are directly affected by the money that is being circulated through
Yeah.
these companies. Like,
Yeah.
I know the Starbucks that I live down the street
Hmm.
from, they're actively giving out free coffee.
Hmm.
They're just giving it away. They don't
Well,
even
that's
care. They're
what's
just,
going on now. They're so desperate. Yeah. Yeah.
is that they want so
Yeah.
many people to come. They
Hmm.
want that to come back. They want people to come back. Okay, we'll give
Yeah.
you free coffee.
Yeah. They're
It's not the
losing.
fact of free coffee anymore. It's the fact of morals and
Yeah. Amen.
ethical and
Yeah,
logical
and
ways
they're
of looking
losing
at things.
big time. Yeah, and
They're
that's why
losing
they're
big time.
continue to do this. And like, yeah, no, it's a line in the sand. Absolutely, we're not spending a goddamn cent. Like we did do, ironically or whatever, a sip in right when the boycott was, ramping up.
Mhm.
But literally, we didn't spend a cent. We had people got water cups and they tipped the workers, so not a in cash. So not even like any money at all went
Any
to
card-based
Starbucks
transactions or
whatsoever,
anything.
anything. Yeah, exactly. So because that cash goes right into the pockets of the workers. And so like, um, yeah, yeah, it's absolutely, fuck Starbucks and, even McDonald's right now, like, begging for, some kind of,
They're saying
improvement.
it's anti-Semit. They're this whole anti-Semitism thing.
Yeah,
Oh, well,
yeah,
we're help. You're being Semites because we're
yeah.
helping people. We're helping the Jewish. No, you're helping Zionists.
Yeah, yeah.
You're
Well,
helping
they're desperate
Zionists.
though. They're doing the corporate bullshit. Like I just saw the
Yeah.
statement or whatever where they're like, well, no, actually, we don't really support, either side and blah blah blah. But it's just like, no, fuck them. And I'm
And then
absolutely with
stop
you. But
sending quarter
I
pounders to fucking
exactly,
to baby
exactly.
killers.
Yeah, no, 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 no. And that's my point. It's just like it's all bullshit. Like they don't give a fuck. I understand completely. And yeah, we're definitely not standing in any way near or whatever, in support of any kind of capitalist, enterprise at all. So yeah, but I do have to say on this note too, just that like, especially with everything you were sharing about the way that you were criminalized through the protests, or the protests rather that you facilitated and just all the organizing you did, in so-called Grand Terrace. Um, that like again with the sort of fact that today is the day of the forest defender and like
Yeah.
the day that Tortuguita was murdered and last year by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation as well as the police there, Atlanta police and whatnot, that like this is the sort of strategy, right? Like for the ruling class, this is what they're just going to keep doing. Like, you perfectly, obviously, espoused or whatever because of what you've been through, but like they are just going to keep criminalizing any kind of dissent whatsoever, keep bringing
Mhm.
the most harshest, the most, vicious sort of tools that they have to bear against us, against especially, BIPOC comrades that are bold enough to stand up and like, yeah, I just want to salute you for all the work that you did and for your courage, here again, continuing this fight and everything. And like, I just think it's so important for us to recognize that this is, like you're again, so eloquently and insightfully weaving together, but how like the state and, the companies work in concert to
Yeah.
crush us as working people, everywhere. And so, yeah, whether it's Starbucks or it's um, the state of Georgia, the city of Atlanta, whatever, it's like the ways that the ruling class operates, are international, are, fascist or whatever, in the sense that they work together, bringing companies, bringing,
Yep.
political power together to oppress us. And yeah, anything that's, pro worker, pro housing, pro, any kind of way that we can nurture community, that we can, continue this revolution, I'm here for. And so yeah, in the pond or whatever of the particular Starbucks fight, it's like yeah, we're not giving a cent at all to Starbucks in any capacity or any kind of, positive engagement whatsoever. Um, for the foreseeable future. But in terms of the workers, we're still, supporting them in whatever ways we can, like, SB
Yeah.
Workers United on Instagram, wherever, on Twitter's, I guess, where they're most active or whatever. But like, I think that every like avenue that we can use to build pressure and to maintain pressure on these, levers of power, whatever, it's imperative, and that we don't write anything off and we don't write anyone off, that we be as sort of, welcoming as we can to, anyone who's not actively putting a boot on our neck, basically, actively
Mhm.
embracing fascism or racism, and like, and weave together these different struggles, because that's what I love about, the Stop Cop City movement, is that it really helped me and so many folks understand that, like,
Yep.
racial justice and environmental justice and housing justice and food, all these different struggles are not, separate
Separate.
in any
They're,
capacity,
yeah,
and
they're
and
not
they've been
monolithic
that way.
constructs. Yeah,
Right,
they're
and
not
they've been that
monolithic
way, and it's
constructs.
not like, the movements for, like, the hippies and whatnot, it's not like they were, able to avoid, like, racism and homophobia and all these problems, so it's not like, they haven't been compartmentalized or forces of white hegemony in different ways historically, but it's like Malcolm X, like, Martin Luther King and whatnot, like, we have to build, but especially Malcolm X, right? Like, because it's like we have to build those relationships, those revolutionary, bonds with folks that are different from us, and that, might not seem as sympathetic to our, struggle, but that do feel that boot on their neck in different ways, and so
Yeah.
yeah, I'm grateful for this opportunity, and yeah, I look forward to canvassing and doing whatever we can, in person out here, and maybe even over there down the line. But yeah, I'm grateful for
Yeah, I
this
mean, the door's
solidarity.
open for you. Have an invitation from me to come out this way, and
Thank you.
I'm pretty sure I have an invitation from you to come
Amen.
back out
You
that way.
absolutely do.
And like how you said, this is just the beginning, a beginning
Mm.
conversation. We could
Hell
even
yeah.
use this as kind of like an icebreaker, a conversation to a very broad, broad conversation that needs to continue to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I do want to thank you, again for coming on. I do have a, for the viewers that are going to be watching this, I know I have a lot more subscribers now, so I'm hoping, maybe, I'm able to get the help that's needed. But I'm currently going through what would be considered a very tough financial situation.
Mm.
And so, anything does help, for the viewers. These are ways that you can help me. They are listed below. So I do appreciate, I do have a fundraiser on PayPal that is currently going. It's almost 50% complete. So I'm hoping maybe I
Hell
can
yeah.
get, the financial assistance needed to help,
Mm.
not just me, but my dog as well,
Mm.
get through this. So if you can, it's
Mm.
right there, it'll probably be here to the rest of for the rest of the conversation. But yeah, I just want to thank you again for coming on,
Yeah. Thank you.
and sharing your personal, something that's very personal. I know the next time potentially that I could have you on, if we could kind
Yeah.
of dive more deeper into, like, okay, well, who is the code enforcement now, for
Hell
under
yeah.
the Highlands? Who is the property
Yeah.
management owner of
Yeah.
of the Highlands? Which I
I
do
love it.
have.
Hmm.
So the next episode it'll probably be a little bit more constructed. I did want to just, keep the respect of saying, Thursday, us linking up and whatnot, and getting this conversation going. So
Thank
again,
you.
I thank you for coming on.
Appreciate you. Yeah.
I think we can kind of potentially end it there. I don't want to take
Yeah.
too much more time from you. I do know you have to leave.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was nice, nice talking to you, and
Hell yeah.
we'll get you on here probably if we can next week. Let's do another
All
episode
right.
next week
Thank you,
on
Isaac.
Thursday.
Please. Appreciate
But yeah, thank you, Anthony. For
you.
the viewers, this will probably be up. If I say today, then that means today. I'll try and get this out today. It'd probably be a little bit later, but this was constructed around 11:32 p.m. on Thursday. So yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. The next one actually is going to be something, a project that I'm working on with Clint, Comrade Clint. He was on for conviction theory. So we're
Mm.
going to be diving back into conviction theory, but also going to be having some comrades on. So it'll be a more broader conversation this weekend or on Sunday. Look out for that video. I'm gonna try and make it live. I think that one needs to be
Hell yeah.
live since it's a lot. It's a lot more people are going to be involved. But yeah, look out for that. I want to say thank you to everybody who watched the drilled horn video, all 2,800 of you guys. You know, thank you to everybody who's been watching so far. I will try my best to get a actual schedule going. I know that these videos just kind of come out whenever they can, but seems to be working for me for right now. And I kind of like it. I don't feel like I'm being barred to a certain day. But yeah, thank you to the viewers, and I will see you guys in the next one. And I'll be catching up with you on the back burner. So
Hell yeah. Love and
later, y'all.
solidarity.